Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm your boy Abram, joined as usual by Tucker Hazel, and we are here, of course, for BLB proper, where we talk about all the games we've been playing, share that with you. But before we do, if you want to share with us what you've been playing, join our Discord link as usual, top of the description while you're down there. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. I believe in that so strongly, I didn't pause to itch my nose, which is itching, but I have to say, a little bit of an itch in the nose.
Abram Buter, thank you very much for that lovely intro. But I want to
Yeah,
say I don't want to take this episode seriously. Let's fucking bite the elephant in the foot or whatever the phrase is. I got my wisdom teeth taken out about
right.
6 days ago, and I have been doing fuck all for the last week. I for the first 2 days, I was in the mode where I would be asleep for most of the day. My mom would wake me up for 30 seconds, pop a pill in my mouth, and I'd crash. So
Sure.
I have not talked a lot. I have not recorded a single video, hence the reason Backlog Banter has basically had no content since I got knocked out. And also, I am on half a narcotic pain pill at the moment to do this episode. But
Let's all
I
yeah, I
also
want to
played a lot of
clarify.
games.
Right. Because you're a dirty fucking liar because sure
Yes.
you've been knocked out, but you've been playing an astronomical number of the video game.
Yes.
So this is gonna be a very good episode. I haven't played very much. Alert, I didn't play Frog Fractions. We'll try again for next week.
The spit back doesn't seem to mean much to you. You gotta understand. You spat on your hand on camera. That's important. That means something to the people. And it means something to me. I will be playing Halo 2 because I believe in the power of the spit pack.
Then how about this? But by the time you finish Halo 2, we'll both cash in on the spit pack at the same time.
Okay. All right. You're stretching
All
your
right.
spit pack a little far, but
Sure.
fine.
Sure, but I
It's
think
the
this is
first spit
reasonable.
pack. I'll give you a little bit of leeway
Good.
because I'm going to start with something that I actually brought up a couple episodes ago, and I'm a month late on this, but I played the first BLB gaming club game. I beat
Oh,
Iconoclasts
okay, sure.
on last Friday, I think, Friday or Saturday. It is about a 10-hour game. I think I got through it like 9.5 hours. And it's really interesting. I talked a lot when I started that, it's a 2D action platformer, but the focus and really what is unique is the characters. And I think that's what I have to stand by that in the end. There's a wide cast of characters. All of it, they're like, people are killing one another, and there's religious drama and like, and there's a giant space worm who's a god, and you have to beat that
Course.
stuff. You
Naturally.
know how it is. But I actually think that this game is only held up by its story, and its visuals are very nice, but the gameplay is just really bland. I mean, it's a puzzle platformer, and people consider it a Metroidvania, but that's ridiculous. I mean, there's like sometimes you can get a chest with it, but there's no like real upgrades to your character, like a couple of them. There's not really any backtracking. It's just kind of like repetitive puzzles, platforming puzzles, and occasional light combat.
Sure.
Um, so I don't know. I don't think it's that great of a game. I just think it's kind of mediocre that's held up by a few good elements. But I guess I'm glad I beat it because I didn't want it to become one of the many long list of games that I played like 60% of and never beat. So I
Sure.
just pushed through it. I played like 7 hours of it in under a day. But yeah, I don't really recommend it. It's not actually that great.
I mean, I just think that the indie space is so oversaturated with this exact type of game.
Yep.
I think
And I
that's
know
the
that's why
problem.
you steered away from it initially because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's well made, and I'm glad to hear that the story resonated. But I just think that in a space like this, is going to come down to mechanical invention to get me
Yep.
compelled. So
Mhm.
you got a cool story out of it. You
Well,
finished?
yeah, I think I
No,
preferred the
maybe.
characters, but
Okay,
it's kind of one of those. It's going for something deeper, like the idea of
sure,
conflicting religions and belief,
sure.
and how that impacts like the way someone grows up, and then how that impacts the ways they interact with other stuff, which is a good concept. Like it's a powerful concept and
Yeah,
something interesting. I wish content dealt with more, especially games. Um, but it was most of the characters because
yeah, sure.
that story is so like Giga Brain next level that it ended up
Yeah.
feeling like forced in some areas and like a little pretentious. So, but I like the cast of characters is good. But the story, I mean, conceptually, I think it's cool, but in the end, I'm not sure exactly it hit what I was wanting it to.
Okay.
Eh.
Now, Tucker,
Iconoclasts gets
Tuck,
a thumbs middle.
thumbs middle, I'll allow it. Tucker, I've got 5 games to talk about, but I'm going to talk about 2 together.
Well, you told me. Okay, is that why you said 3 earlier,
Well, I have
or
3
did you
that
just lie?
well, I've got 3 I really put time into, and then a 4th that I want to talk about in a
Okay.
circumspect type of way. So what I'm trying to figure out live on
So
the
wait, where's
fly
the fifth?
here,
Where does the fifth one come from?
well, you'll see when I get to
Okay,
the fourth.
all right. Let's just get there.
I just trust me, just take my hand for this. But the reason I bring it up is because we don't tell each other what we've played ahead of time. It's kind of part of the mystique. Of course, Tucker is a serial killer and logs everything on Backlog the moment he begins it, so I usually know what he's been playing. But what I'm curious about is, should you go again or should I go now?
I have 5 as well. So
I'll go then.
But I beat every game I'm talking about today.
I have, or I'm on the way to from my games.
Okay.
Let me finish off a thread from last episode, Tucker.
Oh, Halo Combat Evolved. Hard mode replay.
Yes. So I finished Halo Combat Evolved on Heroic, and I think this game really is exemplary. I really think that what Bungie did here is incredibly interesting, and the closer you examine it and the more time you spend in its world, the better its design becomes, and the more I think you can appreciate the subtle things that make the game work. I think as I wrote about, I think it's a masterclass in deceptively simple design. The narrative, the world design, the gunplay, it seems pretty simple, but it seems simple in the way that it's just effortless to move through, and you can point to certain things like, okay, maybe the textures and the corridors are repeated, things like that. But when you really get a little bit deeper in and you see what Bungie is working with and the way they have constructed the world, it's all really impressive. So when I finish the game, here's my big. I've been having a lot of Giga Brain moments this week.
Good. Maybe that's why you're a little overwhelmed, a little taut. Is your brain is just
possibly
leaking out of your ears? It's grown
just
so large.
operating.
It's like the opposite of the Grinch. You know how the Grinch's heart was like what 4 times too small, something like that. Yours is like 1.35 times too big, and so it's like pushing against your skull, and it's giving you a lot of tension, a little internal anxiety. So. Yeah.
Here's what I realized, Tucker. The game begins in the Pillar of Autumn. It ends on the Pillar of Autumn. What I think is
his ship, like the initial ship.
Yeah, that's the initial UNSC ship.
And dumb fucking name.
Not a dumb name. You got to play more.
Pillar of Autumn.
Yeah.
What a stupid fucking name. That sounds like an indie game. That sounds like a crappy like romantic movie from the 80s.
It's the name of the UNSC ship.
Whatever.
I feel like if we can't even get on board with the name of the ship, you're not going to get on board with what I'm about to say. But here's the thing. Around the mission 2 Betrayals, which is where I was last time, the game flips and you end up reversing course through a lot of the major locales, and you see them in a different light.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting design. I think that Combat Evolved succeeds by being really subtle and having one world that you really feel that you belong within, and seeing it change, seeing the Flood be introduced, watching the Covenant and the Flood fight amongst themselves, being this third party, seeing how Keys is affected, following the narrative, getting these small little moments of narrative, of environmental storytelling. It all coalesces in an experience that is a lot more than initially appears. I think you can play through Combat Evolved once, as I did the first time, and appreciate how dynamic the gunplay can be, or appreciate the broad strokes of the lore it sets up. But I think on the second playthrough, I really realized how deliberately everything in this game is. Sure. Because sure, the corridors might be repeated, and it might seem that removed from the context of the combat, if you're just walking through a stage like 2 Betrayals, you might not know where to go. But I think what Bungie does so smartly is signpost with enemies where you're moving from combat beat to combat beat in a way that gives you time to engage, take a break, and understand where to go next. I just think that everything I can point to in the game feels deliberate.
Sure.
I really, truly believe the game is close to flawless. I will say, and you disagree, which I think is really interesting, the library still sucks. I think that there are moments where the design just wasn't right yet, where stage is going a little bit too long, where you're waiting for 343 Guilty Spark to open up too many doors.
That's an annoying part of that level. I will not deny that.
Yeah, and so I think that obviously it's things like that get ironed out later, but you can see the seeds of of Bungie's design brilliance here.
Sure.
The way that they orchestrate a combat system that may seem simple, but when you're playing on a higher difficulty, you really need to use that full arsenal. You need to understand, here comes a jackal. Here's how to get his shield down. Here's what weapon I should be using. You start to realize that there's a lot more interplay between things. You start to understand, okay, yeah, maybe it's just like a big field and there's like a rock and a ledge. But ultimately, those are very effective when you've got flood coming from here and you've got covenant over here. You need to cross this gap and you're being suppressed by a banshee. It's all very good. And I really have come to appreciate games that are designed minimally, but make a lot out of what they have. And I think that's exactly what Combat Evolved does.
I'm going to spin off that point. Now, this is the tangent, but we're talking about games here and game design philosophy, and something I was kind of having some thought about this morning, believe it or not, is the idea of backtracking in games and worlds being recontextualized. And something you said, like the last few missions going back in reverse, that's one of the things I do remember about that game is going back to those areas from the opposite direction and the map's still working, and you having the vehicles and things that allow you to move through them quicker, and having the flood and the covenant fighting and all that. It recontextualizes the world, and that's really cool. And I think some people, find that underwhelming to have the maps reused. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I saw a comment, the whole drama about Metroid Dread not being worth $60 going around, and someone saying that a hallmark of the Metroidvania genre is backtracking and what they called padding. And I thought, that's weird, because I never thought of it that way. And I think that it's actually economical, especially for older games, to reuse their maps. And I think it makes the worlds more engaging. I think of, when everyone talks about the Symphony of the Night map being flipped upside down and that's still working, but it being the exact same thing, and recontextualizing that. Games like Katamari, where you get a lot bigger and eventually you're rolling up the entire areas that you were tiny and going through initially. I think
Even
that
like Mario 64, another good one.
Sure. Oh, with like the multiple stars.
Sure.
Yeah. No, great point. But I just wanted to bring that up because I love Metroidvanias. For me, it's that, and 3D platformers are the archetype of video games in my mind. When I think of a video game, that's what I think of. And I think reusing maps makes them more memorable if you can do it in the right way. And I think that's something that, as you said, Bungie knows how to do, especially with the hardware they're working on, the limited scope that they wanted to still add more and recontextualize the world. And I think, I'm not, it's been a while since I played Halo. Yeah. I'm not pooping on your parade here. I'm actually giving you a point. I'm giving you a card, a $1 bill, saying, good job. You brought up a good point.
And I think you're totally right. And here's what I want to say. I think the idea of backtracking in Metroid being padding is asinine.
I 100% agree. I was typing up like a fucking gigabrain Reddit comment, what the fuck are you talking about? Metroidvanias are built on that. That's exactly what they work. And I'm like, this is not worth my fucking time.
No, it's not. If somebody doesn't understand that, it's not worth debating, because that is fundamental to the gameplay loop, because the gameplay loop is empowering yourself with items to then return and have mastery over your environment.
Yes.
That is the entire gameplay loop. It's the game is not linear. And I think that reusing areas in new ways works when it's done in a way that recontextualizes them, whether it's through upgrades like in Metroidvania or through new enemies and new sandbox elements like in Halo.
Sure.
When you're simply redoing an area, fighting the same mini boss again, doing things again just to do them again, just so the game is longer.
Yep.
That's very different. So I think that people need to shut up about Metroid Dread's price. By the way, this is
I agree.
This is a ridiculous conversation. I haven't even bothered wading into that water because it's just not worth anyone's time.
Yeah. Let's transition to the founder of the Metroidvania genre.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about the Michael Keaton movie.
The founder? Oh, I love that movie. I love that movie.
I know you love it.
That's one of the weird movies that I particularly love. Enough about the founder, starring Michael Keaton. Great fucking movie. Go watch it. But we're talking about the founder of the Metroidvania genre, but only the Vania portion, because I completed Castlevania on NES.
Yeah.
Because I've had the Castlevania anniversary collection on Switch for a couple of years now, and I started this game and I was just like, it was one of the first times I ever used or rewind at a game. I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel right. But as you might know, if you're a fan of BLB, if you watched our Link to the Past review or Donkey Kong Country
Ninja
review,
Gaiden.
Super Mario, Ninja Gaiden. Well, we didn't review that, but on BLB,
yeah.
I have Abram and I have both become major fans of using the rewind function to complete games, older games that have obnoxious design philosophies that do not click with the way our modern gamer brains work. And so I pushed through and beat Castlevania, and it's a really good game, especially for what the hardware was running on. It's a relatively early NES game, obviously created a lot of genre conventions. And I think it just works a lot with what it has to do, but it's also just bullshit. It's one of the worst offenders of bullshit design philosophy of having to restart from square zero at each stage with no weapon upgrades that when you do it, of enemies doing all sorts of patterns and you just having to deal with it, suck it the fuck up and get through it. It's really annoying, and I found myself having to really use the rewind feature, or it's a save state thing in that game. But I think it's a very good game, but I mean, old school design philosophy is just not engaging. But I think the fact that I was able to be interested enough by the music, I think the combat is really fluid, especially for the time. The bosses are fun, although a few of them are kind of ridiculous. And just the whole ambiance that the game has. Every level is very unique. They all have different things for you to work with. It's a great game, but the caveat of it just being old and really obnoxious in terms of the ways that you have to deal with things is definitely there.
Now, if I can intercede for a second, this was pre-Metroidvania structure, right? That's a linear game, stage-based. Now, does it? I think Castlevania 2 or 3 is when it becomes
maybe 2.
Like
2 is more RPG-ish.
Yeah, right. So, are you excited? Are you gonna try those?
I don't know. I don't hear talk. I hear people talk negatively about Simon's Quest, and I don't hear people talk at all about Castlevania 3. I think if I am going to jump to more, I have in this collection Super Castlevania, which is sort of a recontextualization of the original, I believe. I'm not super sure. And also I have Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night on my PS4, and I'm much more interested in actually hopping into those, especially because I've how much people love those games, and honestly, I have a feeling in my left spleen that I might really enjoy those games. And then there's a surprise extra one that I am going to play and bring up.
I know exactly what it is. I won't spoil it for the audience, but I just know that it's in that collection you're talking about it. Yeah. You're like, why the fuck are you going to play that game? Yeah. That'll be good when you get to it, though. I tried Sawton, and it didn't really click with me. I don't know. Maybe I'd give it another shot. Maybe. Who knows? Probably not. I'm not. I need to be very careful with making promises on the show. Be very careful.
I think a maybe is not a promise, though. Okay. Maybe I'll give that another shot. It's a curse. That's an arrow in the knee gaming reference to your possibility of actually doing that. But you can say it, and no one's gonna fucking stop you.
I have no segue, so I'm just gonna talk about the original Star Fox games.
Oh, okay, interesting. I was hovering over the original Star Fox to play it, which instead I played the exact opposite of that, which we'll get to next game that I played. But I was going to play that.
Fox Star?
Nope. Let's talk about Star Fox. I haven't played it, by the way.
These are my 4 and 5 because I'm going to talk about 1 and 2. I had the pleasure of hopping on Brandon Alvelo's podcast stream called Does It Hold Up, where he goes through a bunch of old titles. We play them on stream and then discuss them and discuss do they hold up. And I was on in the past to play All Stars with him for Mario Day.
Oh, okay. Well,
and
those games hold up pretty good.
They hold up very well. So I was back to talking about Star Fox because I love Star Fox 64, as anybody watching this video will know. So I had played the SNES Star Fox games in the past, but not in a while. And replaying them basically confirmed that my thoughts haven't changed. They don't hold up literally at all.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is that here's how I put it.
Okay.
You think about 5th generation game design. Not many of those games hold up, right? Because that was early 3D. Developers were trying to wrap their little peanut heads around the shift from 2D development to 3D development.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
and they were doing it on hardware designed for 3D gaming. Star Fox is, of course, pseudo 3D, fucking rotation and scale, all that super effects stuff, but effectively, it's a 3D game.
Yeah.
With developers who are new to the space, new to the entire axis of motion,
Yep.
and the hardware was not meant to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the end result is like the napkin sketch before Star Fox 64.
Yeah, no, I can see what you're saying.
And so when you play it, I mean, it runs at 10 frames a second. I mean, it's just not. It's just.
Is there like a frame counter out there somewhere that can confirm that? Because I think that's probably a little lowballing, but I'd be interested to see what the genuine actual frame rate of Star Fox and SNES is.
I'm sure you could probably look it up. And it's definitely it's not. You couldn't. I would punch you in the mouth if you told me it was 30 frames a second. Is what I'll say. And especially Star Fox 2 drops to literally single frames in the heat of the motion.
Well, it's
there.
Hold on, it says 30, 25
That's
to 30.
not true. That's absolutely untrue.
Hold on. Oh, okay. It's possible for emulators to overclock it and make it run at a consistent 25 to 30.
Right.
There is a 5-minute video of it running at 60 FPS, which I think is very interesting.
That would be interesting to try.
But okay, so less than that.
Right. Basically the entire point is that the tech wasn't there. The developers were really early. It is what's interesting. It is basically Star Fox, what you come to understand in 64, but it is so stripped back. It is so poorly optimized that there's no reason to return to it.
Yeah.
Star Fox 2, on the other hand, is a very interesting game because it has it basically has an RTS element where you're fighting against Andross's forces. Every time you move on the overworld map, his troops move. So you have to intercept his troops, attack his bases, push him back, get to the other side of the galaxy and stop him before Corneria, your home planet, takes enough damage to be destroyed. And then Andross takes up the galaxy.
So it's just one long mission? Or...
I'm
having trouble wrapping my head around what you're saying.
If you try it, you'll see. But essentially, it plays out on this overworld map as you're deciding what targets to attack, and then you go down. You can almost think about it like Fire Emblem, where you engage a unit one-on-one, right?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the sexy women.
No, there are, and I can't. That was really
don't
close.
Don't say it.
But basically, it's almost like Fire Emblem in the sense that you're making moves on this overworld map, and then you go down to these small, really quick battles. But where in Fire Emblem those are hands off, here in Star Fox 2 they're hands on. So you might shoot down 3 enemy ships and be back on the overworld.
Interesting.
Or you might fight a boss quickly. You might fight Pigma or Leon from Star Wolf and be back on the overworld.
What's the thing that Pigma says about Fox's fucking dad in that one goddamn mission? Your daddy squealed or something like that. I just heard that fucking line 40 bazillion times because I was stuck on that mission for a long time.
Basically, the thesis about Star Fox 2 is that the strategic elements give it a really unique flavor and put the Star Fox gameplay in a new context. That does make it interesting to go back to, especially because there's a lot of fun new characters here, a lot of fun new ideas. But ultimately, the game is more ambitious than Star Fox 1, and with it comes even worse performance to the point where some of the walker missions are almost unintelligible.
You played this on SNES Online, correct?
SNES Online, yeah.
And does it run better on online? On the Switch, does the Switch boost it? I mean, do you have a cartridge of Star Fox? Have you played it on original hardware?
No, I actually don't have the original hardware for.
Oh, you don't have an SNES?
No.
You have a NES?
I don't have a NES. I have everything.
You're a fucking fake goddamn fan.
Well, here's the thing about that. Actually, I've thought many times of buying them, but every game I would want is on my NES and SNES Mini.
100%. Or NES Online, yeah.
Right, but at the time, you know what I mean. Basically, the point is don't play the old fucking Star Fox game. Just play 64.
Now here's the thing. Yeah. I'm in. Can I cut off the section there and transition?
I'd prefer if you didn't. I'd prefer if we just sat here and talked about Star Fox the rest of the episode.
Well, I mean, I'm very interested in those games, and I want to say that I'm in a rut, a good rut, but a rut. I'm stuck in looking at old games that I can beat with Rewind and just knocking the fuck out. So I've got 2 more of those to talk about today, and Star Fox is one of those that I want to, because this is an hour and a half or something like that.
The HLTB for Star Fox 2 is 45 minutes.
Holy Christ on a bicycle. Okay, I might actually just knock that out. I don't know. I'm interested because clearly fresh-faced fucking Star Fox fan here. Just played 64. Have Command and Zero and Guard now access to them. I have access to 1 and 2. I want to know the history of the series. I want to know how it evolves, how each game, or play a little bit of Assault as well. But I want to know how each game sort of takes different spins on the formula, all of that. So regardless of you saying don't play them, I'm still going to because they're short and I want to know the context of how it led up to. But I'm almost 100% sure that I'm going to come on BLB in a week or two or whatever and say, yeah, those games are not good. And we're going to have the exact same conversation again. So whatever. But I want to have them under my belt. But as I was alluding to, I was thinking about looking at old games, how long they are online now. And I saw Star Fox. I'm like, oh, well, I'm kind of drugged out. It's late. It was like 1 a.m. at this point. I'm like, I need to play something kind of chill. Like, this is not something for my 3 FPS like action thing. My brain's not going to comprehend that. So instead, I started Kirby's Dreamland 3.
Oh, okay.
Which is basically the opposite of that in terms of pacing, in terms of everything.
Not the opposite in terms of quality, in my opinion. So I'm curious what you think of the game.
The unique elements of Kirby's Dreamland 3, I think, are some of the best unique elements in Kirby games that I've played. Yes. It's got probably the best art style of any of the Kirby games. It's sort of pastel. It's got these really cool backgrounds. There's one that's like a birch forest that's really like
I'll give you that.
Smooth and pastel and like
I'll give you that.
And Kirby's got this like nice little glow to him, and all the characters are like kind of fuzzy and warm. It's like, oh, I want to reach out and like rub my fingers on it. So I love the aesthetic of that game. I think it's fantastic. Sure. And the unique elements of the game, which are mostly the animal friends that act as combinations to your power-ups. You've got Gooey as a little helper partner, all of that. Those are great. But it's also a Kirby game and an older one. So it has really lame level design, really lame levels in general, a low amount of power-ups or copy abilities that are not on the whole basically the same. Like most of them are basically the exact same. They're not very useful. And it doesn't have any like particular highlight memorable moments. Like I was talking with Star Allies, how the Void Termina boss fight is fantastic. You fight DDD for like 40 seconds here and that's it. Unless you get the special ending after you collect all the hearts. But you think I'm gonna fucking play Kirby's Dreamland 3 and go through every level and collect all the little fucking friend hearts? No goddamn way. It's a fine game. I think the aesthetic holds it up enough and the unique ideas hold it up enough. Especially like the little character animations with Kirby interacting with little friend animal friends and stuff. Hold it up enough to be fine. But Kirby games really just kind of stink. Like they're not well-designed video games. They're not engaging. There's nothing to grab onto. And this game is also slow as fucking hell. This is, I think, the slowest Kirby game, is what I've heard. And you feel it.
I think I've been pushed closer to suicide by the notion that you had SNES Online open and you played a Kirby game and you didn't play Superstar. Because
I want to play Superstar Ultra. We talked about this.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. So I don't really like Dreamland 3 either. I would say Dreamland 3 is one of, if not my least favorite 2D Kirby game.
Oh, interesting.
I think that the speed fucking kneecaps the game immediately.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that really hurts the experience. I think that the level design here is particularly uninspired.
Yep.
But I do love the animal helpers. Nago is one of my favorite characters in the entire series.
Which one's that?
He's the big cat that just like rolls Kirby along. Yes,
that's a great one. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love Nago, and I
love pink octopus that grabs onto the fucking ceiling. That's really weird.
And I think it's so clever how those interface with the copy abilities to kind of change them up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's a game with good ideas, but this is phoning it. This is Kirby phoning it in, really. And I'm going to say, Tucker, one more time, and I'm going to rest my case.
Play just Superstar Ultra.
Just play Superstar Ultra. And if you play Superstar Ultra and you don't like it, then just never play a Kirby game ever again. And that's nothing against you. It's to say that if Superstar can't woo you,
sure,
none of them are going to.
No, that's but I'm still gonna do it because I'm fucking sadomasochistic with Kirby games, which is the absolute weirdest fucking thing to say, but I will stick that as a post in the ground and say, this is part of my gaming personality. I fucking hate Kirby games, but I'm still gonna play them.
You think I should close that curtain? Do you think my camera would look better if I close that curtain?
I can't. It looks fine.
You think it looks fine?
You're not washed out. I can't.
But I feel kind of red.
Okay, go close the fucking thing.
All right, you talk to the audience for a second.
Okay. Now, it's interesting that he didn't like Dreamland 3 because I think that the unique elements of it are strong enough to want it to stand on its own. I don't know.
Does that help?
Nope, not really, but it's fine. You're less red, but
I'm less
lighting
red.
Is weird.
The lighting's weird. You think you
Can
can open the
flip on your
curtain
light?
again?
No, flip on the fucking light. You got a little nipple hanging from the ceiling there. Make it work. Sure, that's good.
You like that?
Well, no, actually, I
I
like
think
it the original way, but you know.
Yeah, hold on. Let me
it's
try to
fucking too
open the
late.
curtain.
Oh,
You talk to the
Christ.
audience. For
All
a
right.
second.
He fucking hurried back. He saw me flapping my lips, and he was like, oh, I gotta get back and hear what he's saying. This motherfucker. Okay. All right. What does that say? Yellowstone? What a nerd.
Is it my turn? What are you
how's it
talking
going?
about? What are you talking about?
I can't tell you.
Fucking have to watch BLB content then, yes.
I believe it is your turn. How many more do you have?
2.
Okay, well I have two. 2 is 2.
It's great to hear. Let's talk about F-Zero GX.
Oh, that's right. I remember you being pissed at this game as you were playing it.
This game is a real motherfucker. Let me tell you something, Tucker. This game is a real motherfucker. I also learned, which I'm very, it brings a lot of jocularity into my life, that the team at Sega that developed F-Zero GX also developed the Monkey Ball titles. So Amusement Vision had something special. They had something special going on there.
Is that a team that is still active?
Fuck if I know. I don't know anything.
I'll do a little bit of research.
Yeah, I believe it or not, I'm not super versed on Sega's development structure.
I know, but I'm just curious.
Here's what I'll say about F-Zero GX. I've talked about it on the show before. I think there are a few games that I desperately wished I was better at than F-Zero. Sure. GX in particular. I'm better at X by a pretty good margin, I would say. It's really challenging, but
that's what it sounds like, yeah.
But here's the thing, Tucker. Testament to good game design is that I'm not frustrated.
Okay, well, F-Zero GX was the last game they made, so
that's too bad.
They made F-Zero AX.
F-Zero AX is an arcade game.
Yeah. Monkey Ball arcade game. Planet Harriers Virtuous Striker 3.
Oh, I love that game.
No, you don't. Oh, it's not the last game they made. They made Shining Force Resurrection of the Dark Dragon on Game Boy Advance. My bad. Fucking excuse me.
That's good. I didn't want to get any comments from the Shining Force Dragon Age of Dark Resurrection fans.
Let's talk about fucking F-Zero.
Yeah, so what I think is so incredible about the game is I never feel frustrated when I lose, and I lose very often. Because you'll go flying off the fucking track, you'll run out of energy, everything will just fall apart. And it can be really punishing when you're 4 races in and then you lose your last life and you got to restart the Grand Prix.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking lives, the greatest goddamn system introduced into video game history.
I think it works better in the context of this and other things because it's about challenge, it's about mastery, and you get to the point where the lives don't really matter when you're getting better at the game. But it really beats my ass. Yeah. No, it really knocks all of my teeth down my throat. But there is something so intrinsically satisfying about the speed at which this game moves.
Sure. Yeah.
The speed. And when you're on the second lap, the third lap, and you've got boost power, as the announcer yells at you when you cross the line after that first lap. There's just an incredible sense of risk and reward because keep in mind, people may or may not know, your energy gauge depletes when you get hit, but also when you use your boost. So you have to kind of wrestle with, okay, I need to get ahead of that guy, but it's going to take away my energy and I'm coming up to some tight turns. If I hit the wall, I'm fucked. So there's a lot of strategy intrinsic to the F-Zero experience. And this is just a very full package with tons of different modes, a full cinematic story mode, all kinds of things I want to get deeper into.
Wait, so that's not the Grand Prix? That's different?
No. What's funny is the story mode missions, actually, some of them aren't even like lapped races. Like one, you're racing, I think it's Samurai Goro, it's the second mission, through like this canyon and there's boulders falling. You're just trying to get to the front of the canyon. So interesting.
That's cool. Using racing mechanics and like spicing it up like that, so you're not just getting to the finish line first. I think that's a cool concept.
Yeah, so it's a really great game. I think that the challenge might be a little bit prohibitive,
Sure.
and I would imagine that it could have been part of the reason why this game didn't connect with a huge number of people, didn't sell especially well. But for my tastes, Tucker, F-Zero it's quickly climbing the ranks of my favorite racing series for certain,
Hmm.
and also quickly climbing the ranks of my favorite Nintendo franchises overall. You got
Interesting.
you got your SNES F-Zero, you got your F-Zero X, you got your GX. I haven't played the GBA ones yet, so I'm gonna once
Is
I've
that all the
played.
games? What is there, 5, 6 of them?
Yeah, and then there's AX, there's
AX.
shit in the arcade or whatever. But yeah, there's SNES, N64, GameCube, and then I think two on GBA. I believe two on GBA.
Maximum Velocity?
Yes,
I
and
just fucking yoinked that out of the back of my brain.
yes, which I believe was the launch game, but then I think there was one other one. But there's just something so satisfying about this game, and I'm gonna keep throwing myself at it until I get better. That's really scratching a very particular itch. It's a sort of game where I'll sit down and play a couple Grand Prix, maybe win some, maybe lose some, step away, come back, and it's a really great,
Sure. I'm
yeah,
I'm
great game for
fascinated
that.
by the F-Zero series. Because I the only one I've played in any capacity is dabbling in the first one. I think probably
Yeah,
I think it was actually the first game I played on my SNES Classic.
cool.
But that doesn't really mean anything. I'm not a racing guy.
Yeah,
I wanted try a wider variety of racing games so I can appreciate the genre a little more. F-Zero, I think, especially from what you're saying with the breadth of content and a fully epic story mode and all that, that sounds more up my
yeah,
alley than other things. Though the challenge of it is not necessarily something that I think would sit particularly well with me. So what I'm trying to get at is that I know this isn't a fucking original thought, but F-Zero would be a great series for Nintendo to bring back with modern design philosophy, stronger hardware. I think that high production value, incredible speed, a fully
yeah.
animated story, online battles, different game modes could make there could be a great F-Zero game on modern hardware. I know that's not original again, but from what you're saying, it sounds like really the only thing holding this back is that it didn't have accessibility in terms of challenge.
And I think, Tucker, I'm more heartened now by the concept of a new F-Zero game than I have been in a long time. Because
Okay.
I think Advance Wars coming back was a real canary in the coal mine. Not
Mhm.
only because they revived the series, but because they outsourced it to WayForward. I think that opens up more doors, especially for, as I've talked about on the channel before, I've written about, fucking give it to Shin and Multimedia. They already make F-Zero games.
With
They just do.
the fast guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those games are exemplary. If people want some F-Zero style games right now, play Fast RMX. It launched with the Switch. It's still one of the best looking games on the platform and one of the best racers. I really think that game's excellent.
Hmm. Well, anything, well, you were scratching your chin a little bit. Did you have something else to say about F-Zero GX?
Oh yeah, the last thing I was gonna say is I think you're really in a sticky situation here because I think that what's funny is
Me?
I think that the challenge of F-Zero would give you a reason to play it, whereas I don't think where you don't feel that hook with Mario Kart.
Hmm.
Because Mario Kart is very easy to, okay, I'm at the front of the pack. I'm just gonna do laps. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna be done.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
I think that having to really start like under fucking Captain Falcon's boot and work your way up, even outside of the context of the other modes in the story mode, gives you a reason to play this game that other racers don't. But the challenge for you is that you don't like challenge in the first place necessarily. So I'd be curious to see what you thought of the game if you ended up trying it.
Okay. No, no. I mean, I have.
Just play Diddy Kong Racing, actually.
Yeah. That. I mean, that's the next one on my list. Well,
Okay.
after Forza Horizon 4, which I think both of you and I kind of want to dabble in a little bit
I
because
was gonna wait for
5.
5.
Well, I don't want to wait. So, and people say 4 is great. They say it's great. So I don't know. And it's on Game Pass, so you already have it, and you don't have to worry. That which is mostly my point is there's no reason to wait. If I want to try it, then why the fuck not? Also, because I don't have a serious console, so I won't be able to take full advantage of the games or the new games visual fidelity anyway. But switching gears a little bit, that was a car reference. To Mega Man 4, which I beat. If you scan backwards to I think December of last year, I've started the Mega Man series. I'm playing them pretty slowly. I played 1, 2, and 3 within like a month or two of each other, and now I finally hopped into 4. Because it is a series that is so fucking ungodly prolific that it intrigues me. The concept of how many fucking Mega Man games are just fascinates me on like an intrinsic guttural level.
It's the Call of Duty of the 80s and 90s.
Except spin-offs, which don't happen for Call of Duty. There's so many fucking Mega Man spin-offs, and they all have like 10 sequels. It blows my goddamn mind.
But there's also a ton of mainline games, which is the other thing. There's
It's hard to delineate what
horse and
actually
buggy full of them.
means for mainline. Like the X games are mainline, or is that a spin-off mainline? Like Zero series, the ZX series, they're all action platformers. Where's the line drawn? Like,
it's a great point.
Who knows? That's why Mega Man's so fucking fascinating for me. And I had a good amount of fun with Mega Man 4. 4 games in, this fucking gameplay loop is just, it's basically the same. Really, when you talk about, especially the NES Mega Man games and what I've played, you're talking about the few things that each game adds to separate itself. And what this game adds actually, crack. Let me open up my Mega Man series notes. Mega Man 4 does have a couple interesting things to set it apart from those other 3. It's got a cool story intro. The story of Mega Man started with Mega Man 4. In terms of the explanation of Dr. White and Dr. Wily and the creation of rock and roll and Rock giving himself his fucking body to science to become Mega Man. All of that is explained in the pretty well animated story intro to Mega Man 4. That's a great plus. Introducing a little more story there. There's a new villain, a Russian guy named Dr. Cossack, which is fucking stupid and weird. But it's good that it's not Wily. Except it is Wily. Wily was manipulating the whole time. The final boss fight is actually Dr. Wily. Fucking surprise.
Like Blue Box Studios and Hideo Kojima.
Yeah. But the idea that they at least added an extra character there and it's not just Dr. Wily is cool. This is finally where they introduced the charge shot. So you have a little more variety in terms of the way you want to approach enemies and do combat in that way. It's got a great soundtrack. It's got some fun boss battles. It's got some fun levels, but they're not really that different from any of the other ones. One is a step below 2, 3, and 4, but honestly, they're kind of interchangeable in my mind.
Yeah.
And it's weird that they didn't carry over Proto Man more. He showed up in 3, but he wasn't like a huge part of 4. I don't know. I think the Mega Man series, even though I've played 4 of them at this point, just isn't for me because of how samey they are.
Sure.
I'm really in the nitty gritty looking for what sets each game apart, and I'd be interested to try some of the X games, some of the other spinoffs to see how the franchise grew, especially and differentiated. But I have 5 and 6 still in this collection. I also bought the X Legacy collection so I can try a couple of those games. But I think this is like Kirby, one of those series where I'm very interested by it and the fact that it is so prolific. But I just don't know if they're so fucking samey, man. It's ridiculous.
My favorite X game is Motocross.
That was a perfect opportunity for you to say your favorite X game was F-Zero. X.
Here's my perspective.
On Megaman?
On Megaman. I like the games okay. I haven't played 4. I've played 2, 3, and then 9 and 10, I think, maybe.
Interesting.
Because
when did you play those? Did you beat any of them?
Fuck, I don't think I beat any of them. But I was a big Nintendo Power reader when the new ones were coming out. And that entire no, I actually went back in the 80s. I've been time traveling. If I stop, my particles are gonna explode. But they were big on Mega Man games, so there was always tons of coverage for those. So I want to try them. I think it's a fun gameplay formula, but I really think that the Call of Duty analog is apt because if you're interested in that gameplay feel and that gameplay loop, then you're just gonna keep chewing through them.
Yep.
As though they're a bag of potato chips. But I think ultimately, if you're not hooked by it, you're not going to find anything in the sequential titles because they're so iterative.
Yes.
And ultimately, I don't think this was a series that needed evolution. I think iteration between entries made sense.
Sure, yeah.
Especially for the time. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would ever have the fortitude to go on the journey you're going down. I think that I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on the X games because for as different as they are, they're kind of the same.
Sure. No, I watched
Yeah,
I watched a timeline lore breakdown of the entire Mega Man
of course you did.
universe.
Right.
Just because I was like, all I've seen so far is Dr. Wily do the exact goddamn same thing 4 times, and then I don't know, Rush shows up and Proto Man is a thing. But there is so much fucking ridiculous stuff, especially in the X series, which just went on forever and like time keeps looping and fucking Zero and Proto Man just like keep getting like they destroy the world like it's fucking wild. But what
Let
an
me
interesting series.
let me spit in your eyeball though for a second.
Please.
There is no rewind in the X collection. There are no save states in the X collection
Huh. Well,
at all.
that's a lot of fucking spit in my eyeball.
Yeah, which I learned after I already bought it. Because if you remember, I played Mega Man X
Fuck.
at the beginning of this year, got to the Wily Castle, couldn't beat the Wily Castle, and put it down because I was frustrated. The game is not
Why the
super
fuck?
hard, and I could have pushed through the Wily Castle, but I didn't want to because
Yeah.
ultimately it's the same gameplay loop. But so that's definitely a sticky wicket for you. But what's really weird is that the X1 is on SNES Classic, so it does have save states there. I think that has rewind also too, right? The
Of
SNES
course.
Classic has
Yeah.
rewind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course.
I think that's where it was first implemented.
Fuck.
But that's a tricky one for you.
Well, it was only $10. All of them are on sale right now, so
Sure,
I
they're
have
always on sale.
I have the fucking games now. I last week we talked about my fucking eBay spree that I
Yeah.
went on, and it culminated this last week in me now owning a game that I'm not interested in owning anymore. My copy of Mario Kart 7, which is currently on its way to Lincoln, Nebraska. But the funny story is that I put my money down on it before I really fucking knew what eBay was, and then like a week and a half later, was like, "Hey, you guess what? You won. Literally, no one else fucking wanted this, so here you go." I'm like, "God damn it, I don't want this anymore." But it was like $10, so whatever.
Right. That's the
And,
thing. You've been your $7.50 copy before shipping and handling of Mario Kart 7 has caused you a lot of consternation.
yeah,
I can attest to this fact.
yes, but what I was getting at is not only that, but I went on a little bit of an eShop sale spree the last few days. I only spent like $20, but I came away with 4 different games. No, yes, 4 different games. I got the X Legacy Collection. I got the Contra Anniversary Collection because I think those games are interesting. I'm not a running gun guy, but I want to try those games.
Is that still on sale?
Yes, it's like $5,
I think I'll buy
which
it
is
after
pretty.
this.
That's cheap. And
I
there's
think
like
I
8
have
games
that
in
in
there.
gold. I have that in gold coins. I'll just fucking download it.
Exactly. That's exactly how I got it. Yes, that's how I got that one. But I also got Murder by Numbers, the Picross
Finally.
story game, which I'm very excited to try, and Pac-Man Championship Edition 2 Plus. Because I've heard those
Cool.
games are fucking kinetic and fucking trippy, and why not? I just want to try it. It's only $6 right now. There's a lot of stuff on sale. There's like a bunch of Namco museum games, which I
Yeah.
can't fucking tell the difference between. Why are they not just one game? Like they're just like fucking arcade games. But there's like 3 of them, and one of them is just Namco Arcade Museum, and the other one are like Volume 1 and Volume 2. But the museum one isn't a collection of the two, but it costs a few dollars more. But as far as I can tell, there's about the same amount of games in each one of them. I can't fuck. I literally took screenshots of it and like tried to pan through and feel like, what the fuck? What's the difference?
Sure.
But I don't know.
I got one more game to talk about.
So do I.
This is the game I played the most of this week.
So same with me.
If we had recorded probably a day or two later, I would have finished it.
Okay.
Metroid Samus Returns.
Oh yeah.
I think this game's fucking awesome, dude.
This is one we're going to review, by the way.
Yeah, that's fine. But who gives a
I know.
hoot?
I'm just fucking.
It'll be mainly your thoughts, and I'll just reiterate and bounce off of you in that review. I want to give my thoughts now. I think this game is really excellent. It actually makes me more excited for Metroid Dread, and I didn't think I could be more excited for Metroid Dread. The situation is as follows, Tucker. The game came out September 2017 post Switch. So I bought it, I played it a little bit, but I didn't want to leave my Switch. So I put the game down and sold Samus Returns for something fucking dumb, probably Fire Emblem Warriors. And then it wasn't until the beginning of 2018.
Interesting that you got the game though, because I remember you talking about how you really weren't interested in 3DS post Switch, but you still bought the fucking game. I guess it's a Metroid game and you're a whore, so.
Both of those are true, yes. And so I finally got my SNES Classic at the beginning of 2018 because they had a major restock. This is why this is important.
Okay.
Because then I played and beat Super Metroid, which got me excited in the series. So then I beat Zero Mission, and beat Fusion.
Yeah.
Since then played
Prime.
Other M, played Prime.
Yeah. Well, didn't beat Prime. Or no,
I
didn't beat
no,
Other M.
You didn't beat Prime.
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't even come close. Prime was a great. That's a conversation for a different time.
We already had that conversation.
That's actually a great point. It's a conversation for a point in time that already occurred, and you can find it on the channel.
Yep.
But so I wanted to circle back to this game, and I went on eBay. Speaking of eBay, to buy a copy of it, and this game is fucking spiking in value. Like it is
100%. Yes.
It's now going above retail. So I just downloaded it off the eShop. I spent $40 on it or whatever, but more than happy to give Mercury Steam my ducats for this one.
Ducats. I understand what you're saying, but is that a real fucking term?
Yeah.
Cash, money, or bills from ducats, which is I believe some sort of Roman currency.
Yeah, David Jaffe says ducats a lot on his stream.
Okay.
But so I'm now a lot further into the game than I got last time. I have, I think, 15 Metroids left. So I'm in the latter leg of the game. And
how many are there to start?
40.
Oh.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, so you're over halfway, but does it keep ramping up in how many you're gonna kill or?
Well, so basically the structure of the game, which is actually what people take the most issue with, is that the entire function is that you're Samus, you're here on the planet, and you have to kill all the Metroid. And so you're basically in these areas, and to move to the next area, you need to kill a certain number of Metroids, and then this Chozo statue will like disappear and open up the pathway to the next area.
Sure.
So you beat them in chunks, and so I'm down to the last area or two of Metroids to kill. This could be, by the time I beat it, my favorite 2D Metroid game. And the reason being is I think that the moment-to-moment gameplay has never felt better.
Sure.
Not only is there an action focus with the melee counter and some more cinematic elements to the combat, almost Other M-esque in a way. And the best part of Other M is the combat, in my opinion. But there's just a fluidity to Samus's movement into the powers and everything here. Even going back to Fusion, Zero Mission, which I love, Samus is just, she's kind of clunky. She's not clunky at all here. And it makes traversal so excellent. It makes exploration so excellent. It makes backtracking so excellent because it just feels good to be Samus, to run around, to counter, to do all these things. Now, the biggest issue people have with the game is the fact that you are killing 40 Metroids, and there are very few archetypes of Metroids in the game. Now, I don't personally feel that this is
a gameplay loop, or what are you talking
about? So you got to kill 40 Metroids. You fight like a Metroid larva, like a middle stage, and then the full-grown Metroids.
Okay.
And so those archetypes are repeated across the 40 Metroid. So the first 10, I don't remember how many, but let's just say, for sake of argument, the first 10 are just the baby Metroids. Really easy, same thing over and over again. Next set, same type of Metroid fight. Boom, 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 boom. So the biggest issue people have is the repetition of that, because the core means of progression, again, is killing these Metroids. I don't think that's an issue for me personally, because A, the fights are really quick, and B, they just feel great. I think that the success of that core gameplay loop elevates everything around it. And ultimately, Mercury Steam was kind of fucked, because if you're remaking Metroid 2, you got to kill all the Metroids.
Yeah.
So I think they did a good job introducing some elements, especially for the later Metroids, where they start to sort of roam around more. You got to chase them down. But on the whole, it is repetitious, but great core gameplay undercuts that repetition and results in an experience that just feels good to play. And with how short the game is, I think it's really great to just embrace that and to say it feels awesome to explore and to fight and be Samus, and the ambiance is great. And this is arguably one of the best looking 3DS games, in my opinion. And I think it has one of the best 3D effects, and probably the best 3D effect for a 2D game. Usually 3D effect in something like a New Super Mario Bros. 2 feels really flat.
Sure.
But for coming out in 2017, for being a 2D game, the 3D effect is excellent. It's just a really polished package. I have very few issues with it on the whole. And I can't wait to finish it. Probably another sitting or two, and I'll be done with the game.
Sure. I also ordered that game. I got a physical copy for like $42, so I
Yeah,
barely eked out. And for me, the idea of having that game physically and being like, hey, look, I own this, and like I'm building my Metroid collection because I will be getting Dread physically and stuff. I'm more into that, but I will be playing
sure.
the game, and that's why I'm saying we should review it. I'm excited to play more of the Metroid games before Dread comes out. But it's interesting what you say with the focus on essentially boss fights, but easy ones. I don't know if I will have too much of an issue with the repetition of the easy Metroid fights. I evidence A, Your Honor. Super Mario Brothers 3 with those fucking Koopa Link fights. People love that goddamn game, but every one of the boss fights in that fucking game is the exact goddamn same, and they're really easy.
Yeah,
So
sure.
like people need to realize that's not a that's not a game killer. But also I haven't played that game, so I have no idea if I'll like it or not. Uh, but I'm excited because I think that
Yeah.
the fluidity of control in a Metroidvania is the by far the most important thing in my opinion. The Ori games, Hollow Knight, all of these games that have a great focus on traversal, on movement options, and a character that's inherently fun to play as gives me hope that I will really enjoy Samus Returns
Yeah.
and hopefully Dread.
Ooh.
We're on to the last game of the day. This is a special one, ladies and gents, because I sat down after beating fucking Castlevania, fucking Kirby Dream Man 3, Mega Man 4, all these games, Iconoclasts as well, 2D games, pixelated, fucking a lot of them kind of Metro, all these games are pretty similar in terms of what I was doing. And I was in the rut of, quit fucking nodding, of playing these games that were rewind able and all of this. And I was sitting down, I was looking at my games like, I'm leaving in 2 days to go back to Lincoln. And when I get back to Lincoln, I've got a fucking host of games that I want to play that I want to have access to here. So what can I play in the meantime to tide myself over? And I saw the game that I took with me back from Lincoln. Only physical copy I took back from Lincoln with me, Ratchet and Clank on PS4. And I popped that sucker in. I hit the X button to play the video game. And I played 11 hours of it in 18 hours. I was up till 4:30 in the morning. I'm on my way to the platinum. And I think this game is fucking fantastic. I really think it's great. I think it's got a really weak story. The characters are really lame. There's no progression. It's got a really lame villain. But this for me is and I'm extending the olive branch of this is a gameplay first game for me. And I know I
Yeah.
don't say that very often. I'm very into lore. I'm into story. I'm into the storytelling in the video game art form. But this game is just inherently fun to play. The gunplay is fucking phenomenal. The upgrade loop is insanely addicting. Always just okay. I can get a few more little hexagons on my fucking upgrade tree. I can buy one more weapon. Oh well, this just got upgraded to this. So if I finish out this weapon, I can move on to another one and try a different mode of combat. And every time you're getting a new weapon, you can integrate that into all these weapons you have going at the same time. And you see an enemy, you're like, okay, this one is gonna be great for this kind, but I need to switch real quickly to something else. I think it's I think it's fantastic. I love the visuals. The gameplay variety in terms of all the worlds that you're visiting is great. It just has a pretty lame story, and I think
Yeah.
that's one of my only complaints. But considering that I beat the entire game in the course of a night, and I
Yeah.
just could not stop playing. Like this is the real story. I was like, okay, it's 1 a.m. I gotta go to bed. I went up to my bed. I watched a little Scott the Woz video, whatever. I was like, okay, I'm drifting off to Dreamland. I'm like, nah, wait, but I want to go do this thing in the game. Down the stairs, fucking boop, turn it on, play for like two more hours. No, I gotta go back to bed. I did that 3 times. I went up to my bed to go to sleep, but I was so interested in playing the game that I said, fuck that. And I came back down the stairs and played the game some more until the next morning when I finally woke up and just all I had left is the final boss fight.
Nice.
I mean, there's very few games that grab me like that, and just
Sure.
the gameplay loop was so fucking fun that I I really like that game.
I'm really glad. And I think based on that, you're gonna fucking adore Rift Apart. So
Yes, for multiple reasons, I'm very excited to play
yeah.
Rift Apart. People say that this game on PS4 is, oh man, you know, they finally did it. It's finally the fucking real like Pixar game that you're playing. The visuals hold up, but it's a lot more grainy and like it's clearly a middle-aged PS4 game. Like it doesn't have the wow factor anymore. But Ratchet and Clank.
Quick interjection. If people have PS5s, there's a free 4K 60 patch for the 2016 Ratchet now on PS5.
Which, well, I played my physical copy on PS4. I know, but you're right. Good point. But the visual fidelity, very excited for that in Rift Apart. The idea that they are not tied down by A, remaking the first game, but B, having it tied to a fucking movie, which made the cutscenes like end abruptly, not really make sense in this story.
Yeah.
It was a fucking mess. Having the idea of original story that's really taking advantage of the hardware and all this stuff. I'm ridiculously excited for Rift Apart right now. And I don't know, man. I really do think this is a very good game. I think it's one that doesn't take a lot of time to complete. You can beat it in about 9 hours. That's what my beating the game play clock came to. But that was with me doing a lot of the side content as well. I did like every optional mission and stuff. So
yeah.
Ratchet and Clank. I know you didn't have a lot to get. I've got a little bit of your comments on this because I know you are not such a fan of the original game. This is probably our only opportunity to really talk about it.
I think maybe I just don't like Ratchet and Clank as much as I used to when I was younger. Because I actually played a little bit of Rift Apart this week also. Because I was like, I kind of feel bad. I should probably finish it. I want to see it through. But I played it for like half an hour. Like, can't do it. So I'm glad that we now PSN share. I don't know if Sony should hear that. Shh, don't tell Sony. So you can play it, and I'll be very excited for you to get the mileage of the purchase that I did, and buy whatever dumb fucking game comes out next. Maybe I'll like it more than you'll be even again. But I wish Ratchet and Clank was more of a platformer.
Sure. I agree with that.
Because for me, the gunplay doesn't work as well because I think it's a little bit too simple. I think that it's a little bit breezy. You can use your entire arsenal, and you kind of have to because of the way ammo is dispersed. But ultimately, the guns do different things. They're different archetypes, but they're interchangeable to an extent. So for me, it's a very flat experience. I feel like I don't get what I want out of the gunplay. I feel like I don't get what I want out of, the platforming. I kind of feel like you with Keaton in the bathroom right now when you had to mute your microphone. I want a different experience than what I'm getting, I just Ratchet and Clank, I think I'm just coming to and I also hate the characters.
That's very interesting.
It's the Banjo-Kazooie problem for me.
Okay.
Hey, Skid McMarks is the archetype of why I don't like the humor of Ratchet and Clank.
He's in the game for like 3 minutes total.
You got his whole fucking planet, and you gotta do his skateboarding missions, which are fun. I think I like that race sequence is actually pretty fun.
Yeah, those are fun.
But I don't know. I think I just don't like Ratchet and Clank as much as I used to.
Some heavy exhales, I have to say. Yeah. But also, caveat is I have no experience with the series before this. I mean, I played a little bit of this game when I first got my PS4. This game was like $15 at GameStop, and I'm like, yes, ma'am. So I played a little bit of it then, but I don't have the experience, which I know some people who played the original because this is a semi-remake of it. It's interesting to hear people talk about the game who have played it, and for some people, it's a remake of a game that they really liked, and it does new stuff. So they're like, wow, this is great. But for some people, it's a remake of a game that they liked, and they're like, well, it doesn't do enough new stuff. So this is not great. It's very interesting that, and I think we're in a world where remakes are so much more common. Although this wasn't that long ago, but I don't know why people didn't necessarily just see this as a remake and saw that it's just the game, but like better visuals and stuff.
Well, the thing is that the narrative is not only different inherently because of the movie is also retelling, but it tells the story in a completely different way. The relationship between Ratchet and Clank is completely different than what
I do know that,
and so I think that it's the sort of thing where The 2016 in particular operates in this kind of weird space between remake and reboot
Yeah.
and just sequel and coming off of Ratchet and Clank being out of the, out and kind of down and out, hadn't had a really great game in a while. Actually, like Into the Nexus, which is a 2013 one, but most people look back further to the last great Ratchet game. So I think it just didn't hit right for a lot of people. So I totally understand all the perspectives, but I think that for me, as I get older, I just don't like it as much. It just doesn't. I want it to be more of a 3D platformer. I want the combat to push back a little bit more and require a little bit more out of me. But Tucker, an audio warning. I downloaded the Spyro Reignited trilogy. Speaking of Insomniac 3D platformers.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll talk about that next week.
I talked about Spyro. I don't know if you were there for that. I think this is one of the games leading up to Cyberpunk where you were out of town late last year that I played a few hours of the remake of Spyro 1.
Mm-hmm.
And have you played any Spyro?
Yeah, I played the first one. The first one's okay.
Okay, so you're gonna be playing 2 or what?
Yeah, 2 and 3. And they're like short. I'm curious if I think they improve over time. The first one's just okay. Yes.
No. So yeah, because I was getting through that game and I was just very confused. It's got a weird fucking structure. Like you don't have to visit certain levels and like things unlock and you have to go back. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I was very confused.
It's more explorative, definitely. It's definitely more of a fifth generation 3D platformer, which I appreciate.
I think I just wasn't expecting that, I guess. I don't know. But it didn't really click with me. Honestly, I didn't like it that much. I think Spyro feels very weird to control in that game.
Head down, charging around.
Yeah, like the sprint wasn't like fun to use, which is not a good thing. Like I wish there was a faster movement option in Ratchet and Clank because I kept using the fucking long jump to get myself moving quicker. But
you get one Rift Apart.
Okay, that's good. It's a plus. It's a bonus. But I'm willing to try. Give Spyro another try. If it's not clear, last 5 games I've played, I beat all of them. So I'm definitely in the mindset of head down, focus on a game, get it done with. Don't let it peter off into the background. And I have these moments where I'd go that it's not gonna last forever. I know that I'm not gonna fucking be mad when I eventually start a game and like, no, it's not for me. But I'm definitely in the mood of finishing games, focusing on them, having that complete experience, and maybe Spyro, not that long, put that on the list of things just to knock out. Say I've beaten it.
It's funny you say that, Tucker, because we're both done, right? But I want to talk about one thing before we end the episode.
Great. I love one more things.
I think I'm tired of servicing the audience.
When the fuck have we ever serviced our audience with this show? What are you fucking talking about?
I'm tired of beating games to talk about them.
That has never fucking happened.
But I've always felt the pressure. I want to talk about an internal pressure I feel.
Okay.
I feel internal pressure sometimes from you, not because of anything you're doing, but because you beat games and you log them and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I should finish more games. I was like, Abram, you fucking jump from games. You don't finish anything. I've been feeling a pressure really since we started BLB, and this is not me like fucking springing and a grievance on you, but I was in this zone where I was like, I think I want to try really deliberately finish more games, more unique games. I think
what does unique necessarily mean there?
Like not do replays. That's my point.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I think I'd rather go back to where I put games down if I don't want to finish them and replay more games.
Sure.
Because Halo Combat Evolved is very interesting. Where this is one of the first games in a long time that I have replayed really deliberately and that I have replayed on a higher difficulty and played in a more thoughtful way. I have been a big one and done, partially because I've had to review a lot of games in the past for jobs and have to do coverage and all kinds of things. But there's something really special about finishing a game again and appreciating it in a deeper way. I hear Donkey talk about last year. I think it was last year. He's like, my favorite game of last year was Red Dead Redemption 2, which I beat 3 times. And he said
as in Donkey?
Yeah, Donkey, not me. I don't even think Red Dead Redemption 2 is very fun. I didn't even beat it one time. But he's like, on the 3rd playthrough, I understood more stuff about the game.
Sure. And
I think that's interesting. And so I keep thinking to myself, Tucker, I really want to start Halo 2 Anniversary again and play through it. But I'm like, oh, but I don't know. Whatever. I just bought Hey You Pikachu. I'm like, I should be playing Hey You Pikachu. But ultimately, Tucker, I think that I'm going to have more fun and have a deeper appreciation for the games I do play if I do more replays. If I
Sure.
spend more time with games, because I've been thinking also, I'm like, I want to play some Splatoon, but I can't
Splatoon
beat
2?
Splatoon. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
can't beat Splatoon 2 and I can't log Splatoon 2. So you're infecting my mind. And here's what I'm going to say. I'm making an oath on camera, which hold no weight, as you know, that I'm going to play whatever I want, not be beholden to the idea of I should be beating a game. I should be playing something I can finish. I
Sure.
shouldn't be playing something I've already played.
Okay.
Because Tucker, here's the big deal. Here's the big boy. We are well. By the time the audience sees this, it'll be posted tomorrow, and you're a speedy boy when it comes to editing, so you will probably. But I don't
Yep.
want to tie your hands. We'll be 2 days away from Mario Golf,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a game I don't want to just play a story mode of, and I want to put down. I want to be taking out my fucking my wood. I want to be taking out my iron, my putter, my driver, my hybrid,
Mm-hmm.
and playing a lot of golf, right? And because I want to verbalize what I've internalized, which
Okay.
is that I should be beating more games. I should be playing games I can finish. I should be having new experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm gonna play only what I want to play. And if it means playing Halo again,
God damn
I'm
it,
gonna
you're gonna
play
play Halo again. No, and I think that's very interesting. I have always seen you as someone, and maybe this was just the way that we started interacting more with BLB content and me following what games you're playing more. But I've always seen you as someone who, and even through the BLB thing, let
Yeah.
me tell you, I've never thought for one fucking second you felt pressure to beat games because you
Right.
don't. On the whole, most of the games you play, you don't beat, and that's true for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not a criticism, but even with games that you really enjoy,
Right.
if you have a great fucking experience with it, sometimes you just never pick it up again. It was just fucking fascinating to me. But
Because Tucker, I want to intercede for a second.
yes,
I am diagnosed obsessive compulsive, and
yes,
I don't like to try to hide it. It's like whatever, we'll fucking normalize it. I'll talk about it. I don't care. But I immediately my mind starts telling me stop playing this game. You gotta be doing something else. Or Tucker, and this was a big challenge for me.
Mm.
I almost didn't play Samus Returns before Metroid Dread because there was a new Metroid coming out.
okay,
Like I don't want to play Forza Horizon 4 because in November I'm going to play Forza Horizon 5.
okay,
My mind is like, okay, so no, you can't play 4 now because 5 is on the horizon. You got to wait. Pardon the pun. You got to wait for that. But it's like Berlin in maybe 1984. I don't remember when the Berlin Wall fell. We got to yank the wall down
okay.
and just play whatever we want. So you might not see the pressure externally because
No,
frankly, it's
yeah.
more internalized pressure that I
For
feel.
sure, for sure. I would say, however, that this whole thing, I respect it. I would love for us to, off camera, have a little more discussion of ways that we can turn this
Yeah.
style of gameplay, your replays and deeper dives into stuff. Maybe we can make those specific videos. Like I want to be able to capitalize on this new form of you playing games
course.
because it'll make you more interested in making content. But also, I would like to, right out of the air, yoink it back from you. You are no longer allowed to make any comments on me not playing more of Cyberpunk 2077. And that complaint
Okay,
is
sure.
void and fucking null because my entire point about that game was it was not fun. I did not like it. I do not want to play more. And you're like, no, just play a little more. It'll get good if you play a little more. If you get no, it's that's not fucking fair anymore.
Now, I haven't thought about our conversation about Cyberpunk 2077 in literally 7 months. I have to be honest, I have not thought about talking about Cyberpunk with you in literally 7 months. I think that it doesn't matter. I will never talk to you about Cyberpunk. Let's just say I'll never talk to you about Cyberpunk 2077 ever again.
You're going to fucking bring it up at some goddamn point when we're talking about best PS4 games or fucking best.
Well, yeah, because the next gen patch is coming out and I'm going to replay the game. I've almost started another run of Cyberpunk probably 6 times in the past 6 months. Almost every month.
Very interesting.
I just keep my Cyberpunk chastity belt locked until that next gen version comes out.
That'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on. But also that means that you'll be talking to me about the game, which you just said you weren't going to do. But that's fine. It's fine. What I'm saying is you can talk to, I don't give a fuck. You can talk to me about the game. I will listen to your thoughts on it, and it will it will probably not inspire me to give the game another try, but there's a chance. Sure. But I'm fine with that. And also, I don't know. I get these jonesing in my loins occasionally to replay a game. Most recently, as in yesterday, I was just thinking about Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I was actually listening to the battle theme, which is a fucking great battle theme,
Sure.
and I was like, "Ooh, I love that game so much. Ooh, I should replay it." And I am someone who I'm not diagnosed obsessive compulsive,
Sure.
but I certainly have my own way of doing things that is very hard to break. And my internal compulsivity is the same as yours in that when I'm doing something, I'm like, no, I should be doing something else. I want to move on to other things. I want to get things done so I don't necessarily have to think about them again. I have a very hard time watching long movies because of that. Very hard time watching TV because of that. Playing long games because of that. Because I always want to be moving on to other stuff, like short games, like short movies, so I can get under my belt and have it complete. Because I also like completing things. That's part of my compulsivity. Is that having that box checked is powerful.
You like to finish quickly.
Yes. But I don't know. Maybe this summer, maybe I'm relaxing at home. We're sitting there chilling in Lincoln, Nebraska. Maybe I'll replay games more. Who knows? Who the fuck knows? But also, I bought a lot of shit recently.
Sure.
And I should make the money worth it.
Tucker, I think this is maybe the best episode of BLB ever.
It possibly could be. I felt that for the last few episodes, which is a great sign.
Yeah. I think the show is better when we let our hair down a little bit.
Well, I got my hair cut, so I can't click because my back is all swollen there. I've got stitches coming out of it. It's really weird, like flick my tongue back there. I feel the fucking wire sticking out. Oh, fuck that. Fuck. So I want to close this out by letting you know what games I am planning on playing. Of course, a couple of them have been referenced, but I've got a fucking list of stuff that I really want to play. I'm excited to play when I get back to Lincoln.
Sure.
Here's the fucking order. As soon as I hit back Lincoln, I get back there, fucking, I don't know, Friday, Saturday, Halo 2.
Great.
I'm going to beat that game.
You can beat it in 2 sittings.
The spit pack will be completed.
Yeah.
As soon as I can. I'm excited to give that a try. Your enthusiasm about Halo has cleared my eyes a little bit and given me a fresh perspective to give the series a larger try.
Sure.
And plus I want to have the game. I want to play the games before Infinite.
Yeah, you do.
Hold the why are you playing fucking Halo games before Infinite came out if that goddamn thing about it's coming out in the future?
Well, because I'm trying to break it. That's the thing.
Oh, okay. Is that what you started that with playing Halo?
I think so. Because Tucker, I almost couldn't play Metroid and Halo at the same time because I thought in my head they're both science fiction games.
Funny you say that because looking at my shite to do soon list, shite to play soon list, which I have on my backlog, is Halo 2, Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart, which is my next anticipated thing to play.
Sure.
Star Fox Assault, which not long, and I probably should just beat that today or tomorrow just to fucking have it over with. And also Castlevania Symphony of the Night, because as I've played Castlevania and heard things about that game, I'm pretty convinced that I'm going to like it a lot, which is maybe dangerous going into something entirely new.
Sure.
But I'm excited for that. And then also Samus Returns, which 4 of those, fucking count them, 4 of those are science fiction games. Got fucking animals and space rangers in space.
2 of them are Metroidvanias. One is Castlevania Metroid. They make a Metroidvania. You know what I'm gonna play?
Okay.
It's my slippy face.
That's what you're gonna play?
No, that's my slippy face.
Fucking finish your sentence.
I'm gonna play. I'm gonna finish Samus Returns.
Yeah, you are.
I'm going to start Halo 2. I probably won't finish it this week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get Mario Golf. Very excited.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm probably gonna play Spyro.
Yep.
Probably the ones. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe more F-Zero.
That'd be interesting. So
maybe Contra, because I'm gonna go buy that fucking Contra collection.
Yeah. There's
just a half.
Quite a few of those games in that collection.
Just a half, just a half. I've never played Contra. Just a half.
Neither right. And I think it's got save states.
Get it for free for fucking gold coins. Great redemption service. Tucker, this episode's been like an hour and a half. I think we should end it.
That's fine. And thank you for watching if indeed you still are.
You're welcome.
And we will see you in another episode.
Goodbye.
What's this curl doing there? That's
I don't
an
know.
interesting.
I
Oh,
don't
look
know.
at I got like Lucas hair. You see that?
You do have Lucas hair.
Let's see if we can get it to like go up even like more like that. Yeah, there we go. That looks like Astro Boy or something.
Are you doing the intro? Do you want me to?
I'm gonna be talking a lot, so you do the intro.
Alright. Smack your lips. Get it out. Get it out of your system.
What the fuck?
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to enunciate quite a bit in this episode because my joculars are
Your jowls.
my jowls are foul.